Hi everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of maxgeo Core Conversations, a new series where we get to step outside the technical documentation and feature lists and talk about the real ideas shaping the future of mining, geology and data. I'm Mel, a geologist and customer success manager here at maxgeo. At maxgeo, we work with some of the most capable and forward-thinking professionals in the industry, not just software users, but people driving change from the ground up. This series is our chance to slow down a little, have real conversations and tap into the insight, experience and vision of people who've seen it all and who are thinking about what's next. Our first topic is the professionalisation of technical career pathways in mining, something gaining real traction on the East Coast, but not yet fully landing here in WA. To help unpack this shift and what it means for platforms like Datashed 5 and for maxgeo, I'm joined by someone who's seen the full spectrum of technical evolution, from exploration to executive strategy. Albert Thamm, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you to maxgeo for the invite. I'm Albert Thamm. I am originally a geologist by training. I've been in WA for close to 30 years. Most of my experience has been involved in a combination of exploration and project development. That has meant that in many cases I have had to deal with generating new data, whether it be exploration data, drilling, geomet, inputs into geotech, and the kind of data that you plug into studies. But also in many cases I have had to deal with historical and archival data. So I have had to make judgment calls as to the quality and the usefulness of that. Fortunately, we have a very good system in WA of archiving public data, which is done by the Geological Survey of West Australia. And in many cases, those data sets are sufficiently well documented that most people can find utility in using them again. It saves you a small fortune if you actually use the data that's already there and you actually understand what that data means to you. I'm currently a director of a small ASX listed called Yarrie Minerals, and we are developing a small underground coking coal resource in Queensland.
Thank you. Okay, to get back to the big picture of our topic today,
Yep.
What are you seeing on the East Coast in terms of professionalisation, and why do you think it hasn't landed here in WA as yet?
In the engineering space, as opposed to the geological or the mining space, the East Coast is now regulated in terms of who are engineers and who can say they're engineers.
Okay.
And by and large, there are acts of parliament and regulations, as well as Engineers Australia being involved. So in a number of core disciplines, that could be civil engineering, mechanical and such like. If engineers want to practice professionally and independently, they actually need to go through a whole postgraduate training regime, which then, with experience, qualifies them for independent practice. In some cases, there are overlaps with mining. That is certainly the case in Queensland.
Yeah.
In the other two, where the regulations and the system is mature and fairly well set up, Victoria and New South Wales, there's certainly spillover into geotechnics, geotechnical engineering, both civil and mining, where the focus would mostly be on tailings dams.
Okay.
and the integrity of tailings dams. That is just one aspect of the creep into professionalism. If you think of, say, the training of medical practitioners, it's been there, for almost forever. So those who graduate go through structured programs and get additional credentials, and eventually they qualify for independent practice. Lawyers, same applies. So we are seeing a professionalisation of the engineering workforce and also the mining workforce in the eastern states. That system doesn't exist in WA yet. That disadvantages engineers who graduate and practice here in WA, because if you do want to go and work in the eastern states, you then have to qualify on a state-by-state basis.
Okay. So the driver of the change in the eastern states is regulatory.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily technology that's driving the change or competition. I'm just wondering how it relates to geology now.
Geology as a feeder science. There are some very interesting and unexpected spin-offs like this.
Yep.
Traditionally in the mining industry, we've had geotechnical engineers, and then we've had engineering geologists.
Yes.
In the system over east, there's no role for engineering geologists.
Really?
Because they're not engineers.
Right.
They're geologists. They regulate engineers, not geologists. So where before we had overlap, now we have a very clear separation.
Okay.
The other aspect so that's the professional registration side of the equation. There's another angle to it, and it's also regulatory, and this comes out of the state mining regulators. That the baseline qualification for people to get underground manager and registered manager, SSE type qualifications, is a first degree in mining engineering.
Right.
But they allow for some leeway for quarry managers. So the baseline qualification for quarry managers is a degree or diploma in mining or geology, and then there's some other bells and whistles. Geology is explicitly allowed.
Yes.
For the quarry manager pathway into management.
Good to know.
So, but it comes with caveats in the sense of how long people have to work on a mine, what activities they have to undertake while working on the mine. So the depth of experience, which has to be fairly broad, and that is ongoing and creeping. Here in WA, there was also a change in safety legislation. So you'll find quite commonly now that the words exploration manager no longer appear in job descriptions. And the advertising almost sort of plummets and goes away. So now people are called geology managers or chief geologists. It's because exploration manager is a statutory position.
Yes.
And if you accept the position, you should have the credentials that go with the position, which are 3 safety courses, and you have to pass an exam.
Right.
So in the absence of a mining senior site executive on a group of tenements, if one is not appointed and there is an exploration manager and he is appointed, he or her, she is, or he is, they are the senior site executive. So that's another layer in the onion of creeping professionalism. So the days of anybody, walking out to a tenement and saying, I'm the safety guru and, I know what I know. It's not like that anymore. No, now you need to demonstrate you need to demonstrate that you have these credentials, and then, you're covered by whatever the Act covers you for. So that's been around for 3 or 4 years now in WA, And then I mean, Queensland has had professional registration of engineers since 1932.
Wow.
So it's no great news to anybody who's out there. But certainly Victoria and New South Wales have caught up with the Queensland system. Yep.
Thank you for qualifying that for our audience. That's really special. So if I can ask, then, is technical fluency for tools like Datashed 5 becoming, I think in the industry, is that becoming a recognised differentiator in professionalisation, do you think, if that's a valid question?
So generically we get engineers, surveyors and geologists who come out with generic qualifications that cover a wide range of subject matters.
Yeah.
Unless someone has specifically included data science in their undergraduate or their TAFE type coursework, then you need to make an assumption that they don't know terribly much. In the older semantics, there used to be computer science, but computer science wasn't necessarily about data science, which is a component of computer science. Computer science was, roll back 40 years, it was mainframes and 2 or 3 languages, COBOL, Fortran, and very large systems. It's almost ironic to reflect that with the advent of AI data centers, we've now gone the full loop and we've now gone back to centralized storage and processing, whereas for decades we had decentralized. So that's why Apple and Microsoft exist as companies. So don't assume that your young graduate actually knows even the basic principles of storing data and understands especially the aspects that come with data integrity. So
perhaps.
So to reflect on a system like Datashed. Datashed is a mature product. It's gone through any number of iterations and upgrades. It's been well supported for 30 or 40 years. It's scalable, so there would be small, medium-sized clients who use it, and then there would be very large clients who use it. There are going to be clients that have a long history. You can help them with that history as you've upgraded capabilities in the software. But this is a generic remark about the application of almost all softwares in professional practice for geos, especially, is make no assumptions that people are competent and actually can use the software. And even those who do, without a long history and without active training, often don't use the full functionality of what is sometimes a very expensive product.
That's right.
They use it as a shopping bag, and they put things in and they take things out, and they never really think about the totality of the shopping bag.
Yeah. So data capability doesn't necessarily equal competency, right?
No.
The maxgeo can support that workflow and career development all in one. I mean, we do need to see capability as on par equally with safety, ESG and finance all in one. This is what we're sort of really getting to.
Absolutely.
Here,
it's got to be a component of professional development, because so many professionals rely on the work of others, and what they are relying on them is either their written reports or the data that they've generated. And you need to have some confidence that the data that has been generated is useful, current, and defensible. And you could get, and I've encountered graduates who have had no exposure to either labs of the geochemical type, or data flow, or the management of large data sets.
that was what I was going to talk to. I think there's such a divide between users who just get data in and out and those building models and strategic workflows. Like, how would you say we would address that shift in culture? And as a customer success manager who works with users from basic to internal champions, how important is that for us as a company to look at, and how do you see that from your perspective?
So having engaged and deployed various forms of software over a long period, often the marketing teams have this sell it and forget it type attitude. So you sell the product, they've bought it, they understand some level of functionality, and away they go. Yeah. It would be very useful if, as part of your sales process, that you provide training as part of the package. Mm-hmm. So dedicated, one-on-one, face-to-face, sit next to you, training while you do this. Mm-hmm. So perhaps it's a question of developing a scope, saying, okay, I need to do, this is what my company wants me to do. So, and this is how I need to load and validate things. And then they will have their own bespoke software, whatever it is, whether it's Esri, ARC, MapInfo, QGIS, if it's two-dimensional stuff, or if they're loading it as a database into three-dimensional software. They need to know how to do that, and having been shown how to do that once or twice, there should be no particular issue when iterations occur over and over again. So not only selling the product, but selling a service that makes people understand the product. Often there's a level of functionality that's there, but that may not do justice to what your product can do.
Yeah, and the platform, it doesn't just support data workflows, but in terms of what we're talking about today, it like you say, it is scalable, but it does truly support career development, whether that's for geotechnical engineers and and geologists. But we're talking about really better connecting with this professionalisation and future focused workforces, which is the focus of this is the bigger picture, right?
Well, ultimately in an organisation, somebody has to speak for the data. They have to say, okay, this data is mine. In the same way they say, it's kind of cute and try to say this project is mine. Yeah, it might be, but what comes with this project is mine is that this data in the project is mine. So you just don't go around and pick up arbitrary numbers and assume these are meaningful. So anybody who's professional, whether an engineer or a scientist, will validate the inputs into whatever workflow they're involved with.
Yeah, we were reflecting before we started recording on geology, I think overall as a science, and I think ultimately the true core of geology is a little bit of a dying breed. Our degrees were hard won by colouring pencils and sharpeners, and it's almost a little bit of a dying breed in a way.
It's been digitalised in the sense that a lot of map making is now software based. So you've got to know how to operate the software. Yeah. And there are universities that deliberately train people. Yeah. I think it's commonly known that there's been a long-standing relationship between the University of Adelaide and MapTech. Yeah. So they come out of Adelaide with a functioning understanding of MapTech, which is great when they hit their organisations, because then they don't need to be dragged up to that level. Yeah. We are now very firmly in a data universe, which is data-driven. And the magnitude of that data-driven universe is orders of magnitude larger than what we had in the 70s and 80s, where what data there was compiled onto a thing called a map, which was a paper map, and then the product, the output, was the paper map. Yeah, people can do that as a emergency backstop. But nobody does that anymore. I doubt, people map digitally these days. So people don't map on aerial photographs. And you can doubt, whereas, roll back 40 years, getting hold of aerial photographs was a major issue. You had to know where they were, and then you had to know who to get them from. And then you had to order them, and then they would appear, They wouldn't appear instantaneously. And you would order topo maps so you could work out where you were going. There was no GPS, which brings us, to another topic, that in this space everything hangs around precision and accuracy, and any form of data, whether it's 1D data, which is drilling, 2D data, which are surfaces, 3D data, which is block models, and then anything that's derived from that, everything is predicated on there being precision and accuracy in the position of the data points. And this is where things are, there's data science generically, which can be MIS and a whole lot of other things. But in our professional practice, it is geographically located data, and you have to have an understanding of how it is located, and the precision of the measurements in terms of the collars of where those numbers came from. If you go back to old school GPS, and 25, 20, 10-year-old GPS, handheld, if you've got 10-meter precision, X and Y, good luck, and there will be no precision in the elevation. So it's moved on, so now there's RTK, there are various forms of much more precise collar positioning. So if you're looking at data sets, a historical data set may not have precision in the collars. In other words, the data is not where you think it is. That's important for miners to know.
Well, the aim is to get to the ore at the end of the day.
Well, if you're driving and you're underground, and for whatever reason the elevation is out 5 meters, your drive is out 5 meters, that's a disaster. So, sub-centimeter precision is where we all go now. And there are very advanced technologies now, like LiDAR, which is not just surface LiDAR, but also underground LiDAR. There have been real advances in technology as deployed both surface and underground. So a lot of what you get should be precise and accurate. Added to that is we have a system in Australia where every couple of years we change the survey system. So now it's GDA 2020, and before it was GDA 94. And then there are some GDAs in the 84s, and there's probably some in the 60s.
Still, yes.
So you need to know a little bit about surveying and transformations and grids. Otherwise, your data is not near where you think it is. It doesn't really matter. It can be less critical, is a better way of phrasing that, in exploration. But when it comes to mining, you want block X to be in position Y and deliver grade Z. Otherwise, people get very, very.
Well, fortunately, our systems are evolving around.
You make that transformation automatically. So there used to be, I don't know whether MapInfo still exists. In MapInfo, they had almost every single transformation known to mankind. It was fairly simple to transform this to this, this to this, as long as you knew what survey system the information was in. In ARC, apparently, there are no transformations. ARC makes the assumption that you know what system you've brought this information in, and that will lead to some really interesting outcomes. So where I've seen this go wrong is in our friends in government. Obviously, there are things like heritage sites which are positioned, and I know of cases where the heritage site as mapped is not actually where the heritage site is, and it is a straight transformation error, nothing else.
Oh, shame.
Oh well, you know, if you're out there and you're standing in the middle of something that's just, you know,
It's clearly not.
well, it's just spinifex and sand, and it's telling you that this is, but there's a little hill over there.
Yeah.
And you'd think, oh, the hill is actually where the site is and not where I'm standing right now. So it's just one example. But there are any number of errors. So there are errors. So some additional comments which I find particularly interesting in this space. A university in South Africa, a distance university called the University of South Africa, has run a diploma in data metrics for decades. And the focus of that was not computer science, but was the collation, display, and integration of various forms of commercial data, mostly for MIS. But in that era, any number of geologists and resource modelers took the postgraduate diploma in data metrics as an intermediate step, so they could understand data flows into the modeling they were doing. So it wasn't uncommon to find a geostatistician have geostatistical qualifications, but also have the data metrics qualification. And I kind of feel that we now have, over the last 3 or 4 years in Australia, got to that point where there are now any number of postgraduate qualifications in data science, which do exactly the same thing. The focus is not necessarily geology, and again, it's MIS, so it can be anything. Mining operational would be one, plant and how plants operate, but it is particularly useful in geology and exploration. And you see it in products like Power BI. Which is fairly commonplace now in most mining and exploration companies. What went with that, but hidden under a different kind of screen presentation, is some drillers here in WA really got on the front foot, and they have developed bespoke systems that have revolutionized how geologists and exploration managers understand the commercial side of drilling. In the old days, you know, people would drill, your dinosaur driller would generate a plod, the plods would fly around the countryside, you know, every 2 weeks somebody somewhere would generate an invoice, the invoice would appear, your exploration manager would have a heart attack because it's not the number that he was thinking of he'd be at, and so on. Now, the companies I've dealt with have Power BI based information systems that at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know exactly how much you spent yesterday, and progressively, you know how much this program has cost you to this hour. And it's brilliant. It's all digital. So integrating that as a separate leg, or as in DataShed, I'm assuming would be something.
We do, yes. So maxgeo, our Power BI reporting, particularly, we encourage our clients to automate all of their, for example, plods straight into the database, so that they will instantly upload into their Power BI report, so that it can instantly reconcile those costs and they can see them. And we find them useful for the non-geology people, so that they're the people that aren't necessarily geology in the field, so that the MD, for example, can log on as a user and they can see exactly where those costs are going, so that you're not looking in Excel and trying to reconcile those end of month plod reports, trying to get those 2 cents to reconcile, you know,
Yep.
exactly where those costs are coming from the drillers. They go straight into your database and you can reconcile them straight
Absolutely.
away. So,
And then that evolves into an element of predictability
yes,
in the sense that you can see what the penetration rates are.
exactly. Use of availability. Exactly.
Yep, availability, so on. One of the companies I dealt with went as far as relating pen rates to drillers.
Yes.
So you can work out who are your efficient, effective, and productive employees and those who are not.
Yep.
So that is a real eye opener, absolute real eye opener. And some of them went as far as sort of integrating that into a mini GIS. So you could generate little plans.
Yep.
So drill holes done, drill holes planned, drill holes, you know, so on.
Yeah, we have a new integration with QGIS as well, so that will plug straight into QGIS. And we also have Leapfrog integrations, and we've got a few new ones coming up as well that we'll be sharing in due course.
So, I mean, one of the real functional upsides of the maxgeo product is its functional integration with any number of bespoke user softwares. But then also on the other side, on the input side, is your functional integration with the output of labs. So you sort of snatch and capture the data in the format in which it's presented. There's not somebody with a spreadsheet, massaging columns and changing columns to row. All the fiddling around.
Yes.
So that's gone. Or it should be gone.
We've also just released an API with ALS, so the lab will speak. ALS will speak directly to the datashed software, and vice versa.
Brilliant.
So there's no hands-on.
No.
For our clients, which is amazing, and sample dispatch, as we know, with the new 2025 JORC coming in. So sample dispatch.
Where's your chain of custody?
It's all integrated into the software. So we're really excited for our clients to be able to just take a hold of not only the lab and the dispatch, but also from a reporting perspective, plods, reconciliations, survey integrations with access tools from start to finish.
One of the more useful functionalities that ALS provides or provided, and I think others will now do this, is this was ALS Vancouver, is once you're a client and they were processing a job on a certain methodology, you could log in online and you could see other jobs that were being processed by the same methodology. You could see where your job sat in relation to that. They would anonymize where the other results, or who the clients were from the other results other than yours. And you could see almost live or near live how precision and accuracy was running for that methodology using their own internal standards.
Well, that'd be interesting.
Oh yeah, so the context is I was involved in a project in Canada and we were using ALS to analyze for lithium. This would have been 2016, 2017. And the whole analytical background to lithium was still evolving. And at that stage, lithium assays would have been mostly classified as moderately precise. And that's related to the rigor in the 4-acid digest. So we were watching these very, very carefully. We weren't the only show in town. There were others. So we were just checking whether, are we getting similar numbers to the kind of numbers that anybody else is getting. And if you're a scientist or an engineer, you'd be, and you're going to spend a lot of money on the basis of a set of numbers.
Yeah.
You'd want to know that the tolerance is, 1, 2, 3, or 5%, whatever it is. So you can tell those who don't understand that, these things are estimates and they're based on assays, and the assays come with tolerance. The result is the best result we can get for the money we've spent.
Yeah, that's quite powerful.
Oh, it is. It is. And it was trivial. Once you'd been set up, you could just log in.
Yeah.
You could spend 20 minutes running yourself backwards and forwards through, the flow of data into the lab. So this is even before it gets to you.
Yeah.
You can watch this literally, while the machine's chugging away. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, QA/QC reports, Power BI reports are all integrated for the client data, so you can watch your lab and your client CRM data and replicates and in your Power BI reports, but and they're constantly improving. The development on those has been incredible. I'm incredibly proud of the team. And so all the Datashed 4 QA/QCR reporting is all integrated now into Datashed 5.
Yep.
And it just looks amazing. So we've just recently released the new version, so you'll get your paginator reports out of Datashed 5 now. So you can export them. They're quite nice. So for the resource geologists that like to have the PDF or the Word reports there, the export Word reports, they're all available out of Datashed 5 now.
I think you'll find that the way things are going with the new JAW code is that there will be a trend that resource geologists sign off on the resource.
Yeah.
In other words, the modelling side of it, whether they do the geostats and the geology or they separate them, is a personal preference. But they won't do the data and the geology and the resource modelling. It's a stretch.
So who would be doing the data, do you think?
Usually the exploration manager or the project geo, or there'd be somebody in the organisation who has to grandfather the data. Yep.
So kind of almost to round out the discussion, if you were looking at a development pathway for someone working with tools like Datashed 5 and Logchief Lite or MDS, so looking at someone from a graduate or a technical lead, if you're looking at a development pathway working in, because it's almost like, we were talking about data science, but it's almost like as a geologist, you don't know what you don't know until you start working in the industry. Yep. Because I've talked to clients and you sort of like, okay, so have you ever worked with a data management system? And they kind of go, what's the data management?
Well, they've never been.
And it's difficult. And so until you've actually started working in the industry, you don't know what a database is, right?
No, you don't. So this speaks again to how we started the conversation on professionalisation. There are simple analogies. Think of pilots.
Yeah.
So there are pilots who can fly Cessnas, and they're introduced to the Cessna and off they chug around in the little Cessna. That pilot's not flying a 747.
Yeah.
The 747 is a tool. The Cessna is a tool. So their experience and their credentials allows them to operate the tool. So you think of Logchief and Datashed as tools. So you have to qualify the people, train the people to understand and operate the tool. And for companies to presume that this is an entirely self-learning exercise is a mistake. It is. So the best place to get the insight into the use of the tool are the providers of the tool. And it is a very specialized, complex tool. Let me just give you some insight. If I go back to the pilot analogy, it costs the US military $500,000 US to train someone to the point where they can commence helicopter training. Commence helicopter training, $500,000. For a pilot to get to 4 engines, in other words, a transport aircraft, so this is an aircraft with no weapons, is $1 million a head. That's just to get them to the training. Then they've got to do the training. Then they've got to stay current in terms of, hours and various upgrades to capabilities on the aircraft.
Yeah.
When they get to the complex systems that involve actually doing things and going off to war, it would not be, something basic would be $5 million, and something complex like a strike bomber or a strike fighter or an would be, it costs you $10 million. That's 20 million Australian to produce one person to fly one tool. So when it comes to this space, so here we are, it's a tool and it's a functional tool and it's an adaptive tool. So, investing the equivalent of $5,000 or 10 grand or 20 grand into the training of the user of the tool is not not a hard ask. It is simply something that has to happen, and it's something that does not happen in academic training at all. You might get the basic concepts of what a database is or what a database language, that kind of stuff. But the use of the tool, no, that's an entirely organizational postgraduate sort of thing. And it's a useful tool because once you've got it, you understand the basics if you stay in that space. And then if you have people who work in that space work for you, at least you know what they're doing. Otherwise, you're running on blind faith.
Oh,
it's blind faith.
It's swimming blindly.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes that leads to unfortunate outcomes.
Albert, on behalf of maxgeo,
thank you.
We thank you so much for taking the time to come in and talk to us.
I'm a great believer in good data.
We are too.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
And good data well stored and archived.
Yeah.
And record keeping. Any number of situations arrive where systems fail and things go awry, and then sometimes you rely on your suppliers to get you out of the hole that you've created.
Yeah, we store your data. We store it well.
Yep.
Good storage.
It's a backup.
Thank you so much, Albert.
Plan B.
Yeah, that's it.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.